the term is not just about success in exams or new assessment, but actually about the completion by young people of a course. So, for example, if only 8 students out of 10 pass a course, you would say that the success rate is only 80% if 2 students didn't complete that course. And I think completion and success rates are both very important. I'm now going to focus a little bit on further education colleges, and in particular further education colleges in England. Colleges have a very clear legal status and extremely important in our education system in the UK. They also have a lot of autonomy. Each college has a governing body, and their role is important in providing oversight of the leadership and management of the college. So they therefore have an important part in our overall quality assurance system. Colleges in England have a number of freedoms. These include the ability to retain financial surpluses, the power to buy, sell, and lease land and buildings, the delegation of employment relationships, which means they can recruit and employ their own staff, the authority to make decisions about what courses they offer, although that is subject to public funding, and even the option to buy or take over other companies. In addition to mechanisms such as governing bodies in a college, we have a number of other quality assurance mechanisms in the UK. These are really embedded right across the system, from the high-level system-level mechanisms through to mechanisms you will find at an institutional level. And the aim of these mechanisms is to both ensure quality and also to ensure consistency, so that standards are the same. So, for example, that a young person doing a particular qualification in one institution has a similar experience to a young person in another institution, and that their assessment is at the same standard, so we have consistency. Some examples of quality assurance mechanisms include how we use robust labour market intelligence at a systems level to then inform the development of high quality national occupational standards and vocational qualifications. This helps us to ensure that we have a really up-to-date understanding of labour market needs, and that this can then be reflected in the qualifications and the learning programmes that young people work towards. At an institutional level, we have self-assessment in our institutions, but we also have independent inspection of the skills sector. So many quality assurance mechanisms are built into the system and into how institutions operate. Some may say that there are too many, and I know I have some colleagues here from colleges in the UK, so it might be interesting to ask them their views on our quality assurance mechanisms, and I am getting some smiles in the room. But I think it's fair to say that there are lots of checks and balances in our system, and this is because learners are important. Regulation and funding are strong drivers for quality in our system in the UK. But there is also a desire for creativity and innovation in our education system. And it's important that we get the balance right. So I'm going to look in a bit more detail at funding, quality and compliance at an institutional level. So we're looking here at the college level. What you will notice is that funding follows the individual student. Learning providers in the publicly funded sector have to submit strategic plans, taking account of local as well as national priorities. In these plans, they clearly identify the types of courses they intend to run and the number of students they expect to take up these courses. The funding bodies will allocate funds on this basis once the plan is agreed. However, the learning provider will receive funds only for approved courses and only for the student numbers that have been agreed. If fewer students than planned actually enrol on the courses, then some of the funding is withheld. In addition, if students are not successful on their course, some additional funding will also be withheld. I think this is very important in our system, and you can see that funding is being used as a quality driver to try and really encourage quality and results in our system. So the government uses funding to progress its strategy for vocational education and training, and only funds those areas that it sees as important and that it wishes to influence. So it uses funding, as I said, as a policy lever. Currently in the UK, these priorities include maths and English for 16 to 25-year-olds in particular, and also apprenticeships. Quite often we receive senior policymakers in the UK from many countries around the world. And when I present to them about our system, one of the comments we also receive is that there's a lot of autonomy, and people say, well, you don't tell people in your system what to do, you don't tell your institutions what to do. Well, sometimes it might look that way, but actually we do, because we do it through our funding mechanisms. And this is quite a colourful slide with lots of arrows. And this slide is not intended to give a complete picture of the UK qualifications landscape, but it is designed to try and illustrate the varied progression routes within the UK system. I think it also demonstrates the flexibility that exists in the UK education system between, for example, the academic and the apprenticeship routes. In many countries around the world, once you're in a route, that's it. It's a bit like on an athletics track. You're in your lane and you can't change lanes. Well, in the UK, you can change lanes. So you could start on an apprenticeship route and you could go on to higher education. You could get a degree. You could even go on to postgraduate studies. Now, it might take you a little bit longer, but that route is available. And equally, you could move from an academic route to a vocational route. So it's a very flexible system. In the UK, foundation degrees, bachelor and postgraduate degrees are awarded by universities. And colleges also deliver higher education courses. We have many vocational qualifications in the UK, and these are accredited by a large number of what we call awarding bodies. These awarding bodies are accredited by government-appointed education bodies. In order for these qualifications to be recognised in national qualification frameworks for each country within the UK, and this then enables qualifications to be mapped against others, and for the national qualifications frameworks to be mapped against the European qualifications framework. And this, of course, supports transferability and international mobility. The role of awarding bodies is to develop qualifications to meet identified needs, to quality assure and standardise qualifications, and to support providers to deliver the qualifications. As in many countries around the world, we do have some ingrained views as to the importance of different types of qualifications. I think the flexible progression routes is helping to improve the perception of vocational qualifications and apprenticeship routes. And of course, some degree programmes are vocational by nature, such as nursing and teaching. But it's fair to say that the government, stakeholders, and institutions such as colleges are working very hard, I think, to try and raise perceptions of vocational education and training, and to promote the importance and profile of vocational education. And of course, in any education system, you can't have an education system without teachers. And the quality of teachers, the professionalism of teachers, is of course very important in terms of quality, and really is a contributor to our quality assurance mechanisms in the UK. There's certainly been a concerted effort in recent years to increase the professionalism of teachers in vocational education and training, and also a shift towards self-regulation. Standards of teaching are monitored through independent inspection by Ofsted in England. On the right-hand side of this slide, I've listed some of the key organisations that are driving and supporting change in teacher training and professionalism in the UK. These include the Education and Training Foundation, which is a new organisation set up to improve professionalism and standards in the vocational education and skills sectors. The Commission of Adult Vocational Teaching and Learning, which aims to raise the quality and improve outcomes and also impact of adult vocational teaching and learning. And then finally, the National College for Teaching and Leadership. This is supporting the development of a self-improving school-led system. So hopefully this illustrates how important we see teacher training and professionalism. This slide gives a bit of a picture, an overview of how employee engagement works in the UK in our education system. And I think what you will notice is that employers are at the heart of our system. And employee engagement is a real priority for both policymakers and also for education bodies, institutions. In almost every aspect of our system, employee engagement is really crucial, and employers really are central to our system, to our vocational education system working in the UK. This is a summary of how the various bodies and initiatives work together to try to ensure that we get that real employer involvement in vocational education and training. So we have the UK Commission for Employment and Skills, which identifies skills issues and advises government on skills policy. It also commissions occupational standards, apprenticeship frameworks and qualification requirements from some sector skills organisations where there's evidence of need and demand. Just in the middle, we have sector skills organisations. These are independent, employer-led bodies for defined industry sectors. They aim to improve learning supply, reduce skills gaps and skills shortages, improve productivity, and I think quite crucially, increase employer ambition and investment in skills development. They produce labour market intelligence, assess skills gaps and needs in the sectors, agree skills solutions with employers and other partners, and plan delivery. We also have some quite new initiatives in the UK. One is industrial partnerships. This is a system of embedding skills in industrial strategies based on social partnerships driven by unions, employers and employees, producing end-to-end strategies for skills development. And some sector skills organisations will be key delivery partners in these industrial partnerships. The aim is to galvanise action on skills in line with national industrial strategies. And I think galvanising action on skills is supporting the aims of the UK Commission for Employment and Skills. We also have employer ownership of skills. The purpose is to secure greater collective commitment to invest in skills to drive enterprise, jobs and growth, and also to create an internationally competitive skills base. It is focused on employer leadership and collaboration. And although there's public investment, this is matched with employer incentives and employer investment. Rather than just talk about some of the organisations involved in employee engagement and some of the national initiatives, I thought it might be interesting to have a look at what employee engagement means at a college level. And we've got here a case study, and this is from Barking and Dagenham College, an outstanding college in England. It's just based to the east of London, in an area with some deprivation. You have sometimes 3 generations of families where the adults in those families have been unemployed for most of their lives. And I think this is an example of the many innovative ways in which the college, and indeed many other colleges, embrace employee engagement. So some of the examples here include strategic partnerships with specific companies. We have a Siemens Mechatronics Academy in Barking and Dagenham College, skills competitions, sector briefings for students by leading industrialists, and also workshops for lecturing staff. And I think that's important to ensure that they keep up to date and also that they build their local networks of employers in their area. And the aim of some of these initiatives and the way in which the college engages with employers is to support students to get the skills they need for successful employment and also for further study. And of course, it does this by working closely with employers. That's the best way for the college to do that. In addition, the college has set up a technical skills academy. This is a unique learning facility. It's a partnership between Barking and Dagenham College and the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham, and is specifically designed for 16 to 18-year-olds who are not in education, employment, or training. And this is a very important target group, both nationally, but also for Barking and Dagenham College, if you reflect again on the area that I talked about and about often the many generations of people who may have been unemployed in a family. The Technical Skills Academy offers a wide range of courses, including hairdressing, beauty, media makeup, catering, business, creative media, and IT. It has 2 restaurants and 2 salons on site, and these are run commercially and open to the public. And this is so that students can gain as much real work experience as possible. And this is really trying to provide quite an exciting, modern, different sort of environment for students who are at real risk of dropping out of the system and maybe being lost forever. As you can see from the photograph, they have some very impressive media equipment at the college, which I think is a real investment in their students. There are, of course, a couple of very obvious areas where employers are engaged in, if you like, the delivery end of our system. And these are apprenticeships, but also in providing work experience to students and having work experience at the heart of learning programmes. Apprenticeships have a long history in the UK. In fact, my father did an apprenticeship, so that shows that they've been around a while. They are really a keystone of our strategy in the UK for work-based learning. The re-emergence of apprenticeships has become a significant feature of the vocational education and training landscape in the UK in recent years. Apprenticeships are really central to government policy to increase youth employment and tackle skills gaps and skills shortages. For all of the main parties prior to our recent election, apprenticeships were very prominent in their manifestos. That was common across all parties, and that shows the commitment and the focus both on apprenticeships and on employment for young people. I think a number of improvements have been made to apprenticeships with the aim of increasing take-up amongst both young people and employers. And the success that we've seen in recent years has led to significant expansion of the programme. And we have a new initiative led by large employers, which is Trailblazer Apprenticeships, and I will talk a bit more about that. We also have support for small and medium enterprises in taking on apprentices, because often they can find this quite difficult. They see it as bureaucratic, that maybe they might feel they're not big enough to take on an apprentice. And so in England, we now have apprenticeship training agencies, and these help small and medium enterprises to take on apprentices. The scheme seeks to address the issue that SMEs can find it difficult to offer employment for an apprentice on their own. In this scheme, run mainly by colleges, the apprenticeship training agency itself becomes the employer. And this allows for apprentices to be shared between different small businesses. In England, we also have studio schools, university technical colleges, traineeships, 16 to 19 learning programs, and career colleges, which all promote work experience. In Scotland, the focus on employability and employment outcomes is via partnerships between colleges and industry. So I mentioned trailblazer apprenticeships. You will see here we have Rolls-Royce and Land Rover Jaguar, who are some very big companies who have big apprenticeship programs in the UK. And trailblazer apprenticeships aim to make sure that apprenticeships are more rigorous and more responsive to the needs of employers. And there's now a higher expectation in terms of English and maths for apprentices. There's grading, such as pass, merit and distinction. And there's also an increased emphasis on assessment at the end of an apprenticeship. Trailblazer apprenticeships are an outcome of the Richard Review of Apprenticeships in 2012. They're being led entirely by large employers and are linked to the UK Commission's Industrial Partnerships Initiative. Large employers are being encouraged to get together to develop high-level standards to replace some of the quite detailed standards that have been developed previously. To date, the trailblazer apprenticeships have been successfully developed in a number of sectors, and progress is already underway in a range of other sectors. So, for example, you can find a trailblazer apprenticeship in aerospace, in automotive, in digital, financial services, and in food and drink. And these are all priority sectors in the UK. As I've been talking, I've made a few references to enterprise and also to the importance of creativity and innovation. I think that enterprise can be seen in the vocational education and training system in the UK in a number of different ways. I think a few examples are, firstly, that the independent status of colleges has, and they're, and particularly in England, their freedoms to, for example, operate commercial services, means that their leaders, their principals or chief executives have developed enterprising leadership skills. Colleges have set up commercial trading companies delivering full cost provision to employers. We also have what's called the Gazelle group of colleges. This group have come together specifically to showcase and demonstrate good practice in delivering enterprise and innovation. In Wales, we have the Youth Enterprise and Entrepreneurship Strategy, which provides online guidance to schools and institutions on entrepreneurial learning and progression. Governments in the UK have introduced a range of innovative initiatives to address the policy priorities of youth unemployment, skills shortages, and the quality of provision. And I think you will have seen that's a very strong theme. These initiatives include greater employer involvement in vocational education and training, utilising funding as a policy lever to progress the vocational education strategy, We also have funding from the Skills Funding Agency's new innovation code that allows new programs to be developed locally, for example, to address a particular skills gap which is in a local area. And I think this is important to be able to help institutions to respond to local need, to be both looking long-term, but also to be responsive. And I think the training providers have, of course, always been innovating in both the design and the delivery of vocational education and training and the curriculum, and also in the ways that they engage with employers. I think we're now seeing far greater use of IT and social media in our institutions, and also distance and blended learning. So, for example, blended approaches, including e-learning, virtual classrooms, webinars, and e-assessments. These are all becoming more common in our institutions and provide greater flexibility. So what does enterprise and innovation look like in a college? I've included here a case study from Cardiff and the Vale College. And I think we have someone here today, is that right, from Cardiff and the Vale College? I didn't know, so it wasn't planned, but that is very lucky. And this is really looking at the use of IT and also the use of using a competition, something quite exciting for students to promote enterprise and entrepreneurship. The Market Makers experience is a student competition requiring candidates to use state-of-the-art technology to develop an innovative business idea that demonstrates their ability to successfully develop and run a business. Students have to devise appropriate and well-thought-out strategies to maximize their chances of developing a successful enterprise. The reason that there's a photo of New York is that the prize of the competition is a trip to New York. And I think that would certainly motivate me in any competition. Cardiff and the Vale College has integrated the Market Maker experience, real business competition, directly into the Welsh Baccalaureate curriculum. They also support the involvement of students and tutors with dedicated timetabled sessions for each group to develop their businesses and to engage with all aspects of the competition. This equips students with a range of entrepreneurial skills, and I think this will give them an advantage when it comes to seeking employment. I think it's very interesting that this initiative has been embedded into the curriculum. So it's not seen as a nice to have, it's not seen as an add-on, it's seen as being really important and a part of the curriculum, a part of the learning that a student undertakes. I think that's a really interesting, really good practice. Just to let you know, I'm almost at the end of my slides, so we haven't got far to go. Just to go into innovation in a bit more detail in terms of what that would look like, in terms of the types of institutions that we would have, with the idea that we're trying to innovate in the types of institutions we have in the UK, but also that we have institutions that really see innovation as being at the heart of what they do and how they operate. So particularly in England, we have studio schools. These allow young people from the age of 14 up to 19 to access learning programs that have been designed with the input of local employers in areas where there's a real shortage of skills. And students learn through enterprise projects and real work. We also have university technical colleges, and these are also quite new, and they offer 14 to 18-year-olds the opportunity to take a highly regarded, full-time, technically oriented course of study. They are sponsored by a university and offer very clear progression routes into higher education and of course into work. The third one is National Skills Academies, which are perhaps more established in the UK. And these are employer-led, usually linked to a sector skills organisation. And they are focused on transforming the way sector training needs are addressed. So these are sector-focused and normally a grouping of institutions which come together as a National Skills Academy. And of course, they also bring together employers, so there's close employer engagement there. And finally, we have career colleges, which is also a very new initiative. This is an initiative just in England, and these are really, I would say, colleges within a college, and they're led by employers. The reason that they are a college within a college is that they're designed to increase the range and choice of opportunities open to 14 to 19-year-olds. And I think we're trying to support 14-year-olds in colleges. And I think it reflects an understanding that a 14-year-old is perhaps a bit different to a 16-year-old. And so that's the idea of having a college within a college, particularly targeted at some of these younger learners. But for both university technical colleges and career colleges, students learn in a very practical way, and the learning is influenced and supported by employers. I started by talking about the importance of collaboration, and it's the theme of my final slide. As I said, collaboration is very important to the British Council, and for a number of years we've supported collaboration in both education and vocational education and training around the world. And that collaboration has been between policymakers, between institutions, and between individual learners. And I would say that we have three aims as far as vocational education and training and skills are concerned from the British Council perspective. We want the UK to learn from other countries so that we can improve our vocational education and training system. So I very much hope that we can learn from you in Spain. We also want other countries to learn from the UK in those areas that might be relevant and useful. And perhaps most importantly, we want young people to develop and gain global employability skills and cultural awareness, both in the UK and overseas. In today's race for talent and in the global jobs marketplace, providing international experiences, the skills needed to work across cultures, and a global outlook for young people has never been more important. Thank you very much. Gracias.